Today I'm gonna make a web perf analysis of summerislandmaldives.com. It's a website of Maldives resort. The website is beautiful, but the performance here is not that great. I'm gonna check several pages of this website and I'll try to analyze performance issues and I'll try to explain you how to fix them. By the way, I was on this resort before. It's a beautiful resort. If you plan a holiday, I definitely recommend checking it out. Now let's start with the homepage. Let's run the lighthouse. Okay, homepage 69%, LCP element 2.2 seconds, cumulative layout shift 0.2 seconds, total blocking time 230 milliseconds. There are several layout shifts. It seems to be in the header. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even the button have a layout shift. It will probably be a font. The largest contentful paint is the video. It took 2.1 second to load. Off-screen images, there is probably no lazy loading. All images seems to be in JPEG and PNG. And there is a render blocking resource jQuery in the head, okay. They are not setting width and height for images. You should always set at least the aspect ratio for images, and you can do it by setting width, for example, to 2 and height to 1. The browser will know that image is going to be rendered in the aspect ratio 2 to 1. Some unused CSS, it seems they are probably using the style CSS. It's probably going to have the entire CSS for the entire application in one file. If you have several pages, I don't know what system they're actually using right now. But if you are having several pages, you should split the CSS. Yeah, and here is there's a video, 5 megabytes, 90 megabytes, and these images are really huge actually. Fine, so let's check the head tag. I'm gonna switch off the JavaScript. Okay, so I switched off the JavaScript and now I can see the head tag without being modified by JavaScript. What you want the user to see, the first thing is title tag and favicon icon. You must set the car set, viewport and title. When you have a favicon and when you have a title, the user sees that the page is actually loading and the user will not want to leave that quickly. You should also never have any resource between title tag and the car set. It should be quickly set up so the title shows up immediately. Here is the render blocking jQuery. When you have a script in a head, it's gonna cause a render blocking resource. The head tag is the biggest render blocking element you have on the page. Nothing is going to happen until the head tag is processed by the browser. If you have a lot of assets here, the rendering is going to be slow. You want to remove all unnecessary JavaScript, CSS and anything that doesn't have to be loaded instantly out from the head tag. So this jQuery, it shouldn't be in the head tag, but it should be moved right here at the beginning of the body element. Let's check out the LCP element. I'm gonna turn on the JavaScript and the LCP element, it will be the video. I saw some layout shifts actually. I'm gonna enable throttling, slow 3G. When you want to optimize your website, you should always enable throttling. Not all users have quick internet. Some of them may be in a train, some of them may be in a restaurant. Not everyone have 5G. Somebody may be traveling. So let's reload the page. Wow, video, image, button, okay. Font, video is playing, okay. And there's some image, hey, the image is loading, okay. I'm gonna turn on the layout shift region. Layout shift regions. I'm gonna move it to fast 3G. I'm gonna reload the page again. Okay, there's several problems here. So this is the video. There is some image, which is probably some overlay, and there's some VJS. It will probably be some library they are using. I'm gonna turn off the JavaScript. Let's see how the HTML looks without it. Yeah, they are completely refactoring the header of the page by JavaScript. You should never do this. Everything in the header of the page is often LCP element or something important. It should be visible instantly and loaded instantly without any unnecessary JavaScript. Another thing is video in header of the page. It looks nice, but it's a bit hard to optimize. You can't use preload. Preload as video doesn't work, so you have to lazy load the video and use some image placeholder and delay the loading of the video as long as possible because the user wants to see the page and doesn't want to wait on the video to load. It's a nice effect, but you have to optimize it. Let's check the images. Yeah, here is some gallery. 1, 2, okay, 3 images. And these images and even those images below, like for all of those rooms here, have been loaded instantly. When you have carousels like this and sliders, you want to load only the first image of the slider, and only if the slider is visible on the page instantly. If the slider isn't visible, you want to delay loading of all images inside of the slider until it's necessary to load them. So this image here, for example, it should have loading lazy, and it should be fetch priority low. And also, if Safari fixes the decoding problem, you can use decoding async. This way you are going to lazy load the image, the priority of the loading is going to be low, and the decoding is going to be async. So when the browser loads the image, it's not gonna wait on it to decode, is gonna continue the loading of other images. The same goes for this slider. Okay, so this slider is some oval. It will probably be the oval library. When you have some JavaScript for carousels, you want to initialize the JavaScript only when the carousel is actually visible on the page. If the carousel isn't visible, you don't have to initialize it. You are going to save some mind thread work, and a page will be more smooth. Also, this carousel, I can't actually see any buttons around. So this effect here, you can do it pretty much fine with scroll snap. This effect, you don't need to library for that. These fade effects right here, they are probably using some library for that too. It's AOS init and AOS animate. This one, it can be done in a pure JavaScript too. You can use intersection observer, and you can tell the intersection observer that you are watching, for example, some scroll area. You can make a query selector all, iterate over it, and you can watch the element. When the element is visible, you are going to add a class, and you can make all these transitions through pure CSS. You don't need any library for that. It can be a very simple wrapper. I guess it will be achievable in like 2 kilobytes of JavaScript, and you don't need any library. Yeah, weddings images. We saw a wedding on Maldives. It was beautiful. By the way, this is exactly how it looks there. You wake up with a coffee and you sit on the wooden part here and just relax. Okay, slider in the footer of the page. It seems they're using another plugin, another slider, another library, I guess. Is some Kus swiper button. I don't know what it actually does more than the oval carousel, but whatever. This one, it can be again solved by carousel swipe with the native CSS. We have one of those on slowomat.cz. It's this one. It's basically a native scroll snap, and there's some JavaScript that's checking if you're on the right side or left side, and it just takes that element and it calls native scroll into view. Scroll into view is another thing you can use. It's supported in all major browsers, and you just select an element, you call scroll into view, and it's gonna scroll the element exactly when you want it. It can be used to scroll elements in horizontal and in vertical things. It can scroll in the nested carousels, and it works just fine. The entire carousel is around 3 or 4 kilobytes. We are using it all over the place. It works fine. Those images, they are not using any WebP images. You should at least use the WebP. I've implemented it to one of my websites running on WordPress. This package, it's from NetFramework. You can use it in any library. You can use it in any CMS. You just have to use a composer for that. So if you are not familiar with Composer, you will probably not be able to use it. But I guess CMS editors has their own plugins for transforming images into WebP, AVIF, and other formats. But this library is easy to use. You basically call a static function image and then convert it, for example, into WebP, into AVIF format. You can also set the quality, and you can resize images. So you can prepare images for all possible places in your application. Okay, pages with villas. Let's run the lighthouse. Okay, 98%. It seems that a lot of those problems the main page have with the header, it's caused by the video. Largest contentful paint, it took 1.1 seconds. Cumulative layout shifts, there are none. So the page is actually in the end okay, but the video on the main page, it's slowing it down. But if it would be optimized, it would be absolutely great. Width and height, I'm gonna show you a trick. This image is 2:1 in aspect ratio, circa. So the width, it's gonna be 2, height, it's gonna be 1. The browser now knows it's gonna be in this aspect ratio. And we can now modify the CSS. We can add style, width, 100%, height is gonna be auto. And we are going to have the same image, but we are going to keep the aspect ratio, and the browser will be satisfied with the width and height, and it will also be able to prepare the space for the image. Let's turn on the layout shifts region and check how the layout shifts are on this page. Okay, so I refresh the page and you can see these blue flashes. There is one layout shift region, second one. Let's scroll down. So it seems the page is actually loading. Okay, the font is breaking it down. They're probably lazy loading the font. I'm gonna check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you have external fonts on your page, you definitely don't want to load them from some sort of CDN. You want to use basic 64 and you want to have the font directly in the CSS. This is going to load the page very quickly. There will be less layout shifts because of the font change, and you will not rely on CDN. If the CDN will go down, your font will be fine. They are also using some external CSS from Typekit. This again should be directly in the layout CSS. The font is on the entire page, so it should be loaded instantly. Okay, Wine and Dine page. Wine and Dine, 93%. When you have such image in your head, you want to load it as quickly as possible. You can use loading, eager, and you can set fetch priority high. And this is going to change the priority of loading of the image. It's gonna be much higher. It's gonna load it faster. And the LCP element is going to be rendered much sooner. So when the user comes to a page, he will instantly see image. It will not block the rest of the page. Let's go down. Yeah, it seems on the same blocks like on the home page. Let's check the island page. 98%. If you plan to visit this island, I definitely recommend taking the speedboat as a transfer from the airport. It will be for you the 45 minutes of pure adrenaline, believe me. Let's check the mobile navigation. Okay, the navigation. I think that instead of the display none, they should probably change the visibility of the element, because this is definitely going to trigger some calculation. Another thing is these two scroll bars. It probably should be fixed somehow. Okay, so let's check the gallery. Lighthouse, 98%. Okay, so the gallery is actually interesting. I expected that here will be a lot of images that will slow down the loading of the page, but they are using some sort of library. I don't know which one, but it works in a way that it takes the image from the data attribute and it sets it as a background image. You again don't want to do that. You want the images to be in the image tag or in a picture tag, and you want to aid lazy loading. But okay, this works fine, it seems. It's some sort of fancy box gallery. Okay, so let's check the block. Beautiful header image. Okay, these SVG icons, I think that they are not optimal. You should use some font for it. They are not that bad, but it is adding unnecessary elements into the entire page. This could be like one element or two and not SVG and another element, and this is going to be for all icons on the page. You should use always some font for it. The SVG is good for some sort of icons. For example, if you have a logo on the page like they had on the homepage here, this one, it could be SVG, for example. Okay, and it should be inlined so the user see the logo of the project instantly, but it is not good for this kind of images. Okay, let's check some articles. I'm gonna turn on the layout region. Yeah, there is a lot of them. It seems the article shifts from left to right. I'm gonna turn on the throttling slow 3G. Yeah, I was right. It probably lazy loads some sort of CSS and then it shifts to the right. I have no idea which part of the code or CSS does this. Again, my image of an article, it should have loading eager and it should have high fetch priority. You could also add link rel preload as image into the head of the page. This will ensure the image, the main image, the best image of the article is visible instantly. And any other image in the article, it should use the loading lazy. This is actually a bit hard to do. You have to take the content of the article, you have to parse the HTML, you have to find images, and you have to make a space for these images and add an attribute loading lazy. WordPress actually can do it. This is probably not the newest version of the WordPress. Or if you use some other editor, you should have some plugin that will add the wrapper around it and will have some CSS grid. So you can easily have a space for list or elements and there will be no layout shifts. Okay, so I couldn't find any more interesting pages on this website. If you like the video, hit the subscribe button and see you in the next video.